did state housing subsidy going to a violent felon? It's against the rules, so how did it happen?
Fox Undercover's Mike Bodette now with the investigation that has uncovered some family ties that might explain.
Since his release from prison for stabbing and killing a man, Josiah Matati has been paying his rent with a little help from the taxpayers, even though violent criminals are not supposed to receive this coveted public subsidy. It's an unusual situation, but then again, Matati is no ordinary ex-con. He's also the nephew of former State Senator Dianne Wilkerson. Our investigation shows there's more to that connection than just coincidence. Josiah Matati, outside the South End apartment building he calls home. He rents one of 27 single rooms in the West Newton Street building, and like the other tenants, pays his rent with the help of a state housing subsidy. He's a lucky man to receive it, and not just because it's a sought-after benefit. Lucky because Matati shouldn't have received the subsidy in the first place. Hi, Mr. Matati. Go down with Fox 25 News. Ask you a couple quick questions. Just wanted to ask you about your West Newton Street apartment. Wondering how you got that place.
You're wondering how I got that place.
Wondering how he got the place because Matati was convicted of stabbing and killing a man in 1994. Prosecutors called it a senseless crime that started with a stare-down between two strangers outside a Mattapan social club. The fight ended with Matati stabbing the man and spitting on his body. He was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to 12 to 15 years in prison. Within weeks of his December 2009 release, Matati was applying for the subsidy. Since his conviction for a violent crime should have disqualified him from getting it, we wanted to know if his family connections played a role. You have a serious criminal record, and that's subsidized housing, isn't it? Does the fact that you're related to Dianne Wilkerson have anything to do with it? Just trying to get your side of the story, sir. No answer from Matati about his Aunt Dianne. Former State Senator Dianne Wilkerson. They're seen together here as Wilkerson leaves federal court. That's where she eventually pleaded guilty to corruption charges, including stuffing cash into her bra, as seen in this government photo, to help a nightclub developer get a liquor license. But that's not the only family connection. This woman, Monica Dean, gave birth to Dianne Wilkerson's granddaughter. Dean is also a manager at Nuestra Comunidad, the company that owns the building where Matati is living in the subsidized unit. You've got to admit, this sounds fishy.
I can see how from the outside the appearances make it look like something improper happened.
David Price is the executive director of Nuestra Comunidad.
That's one reason we were extremely concerned and we aggressively investigated and collected the facts. And it doesn't appear that anything improper happened.
Nothing improper happened at Nuestra, Price says, even if Dean knew about Matati's record. She had to have known about his record. Come on.
Well, at the time, there was no rule here at Nuestra that staff were required to disclose personal knowledge of someone's criminal record.
The criminal record of Matati and every other applicant is supposed to be checked before a subsidy is given. That criminal record check, known as a CORI, should have picked up Matati's manslaughter conviction. Price wouldn't discuss Matati's CORI, except to say his agency was not aware of the conviction.
The unfortunate thing that did happen is someone convicted of a violent crime got housing in one of our properties, but that goes back to the CORI board and the CORI system that failed us in this case.
With all due respect, that explanation doesn't sound believable.
Well, to me, it doesn't sound believable that the CORI system failed, that the entire housing industry depends on it. And so this really undermines the confidence in that system.
Didn't your manager fail?
I don't think so. That she followed the rules and procedures and all of our staff that were in place at that time. And clearly, mistakes were made.
The Boston Housing Authority also had problems uncovering Matati's past. That's the agency that ran the CORI for Nuestra when he applied in early 2010. Lydia Agro is the authority's spokesperson.
What I can tell you is, based on the information that we had at the time when we did the screening, he qualified for the program. We have since received new information, and based on that new information, we are seeking termination of his subsidy.
That new information coming from Fox Undercover. We not only found his court records in Suffolk Superior Court, but the CORI we requested under Matati's old name, Jermaine Barry, showed his conviction for voluntary manslaughter. If you had that information at the time, would that have raised a red flag?
Absolutely, and it's based on that information now that we are seeking termination of his subsidy.
In addition to revoking Matati's subsidy, the Boston Housing Authority is also asking the state agency that pays for these rental vouchers to review its tenant selection procedures. Nuestra Comunidad has also made changes in the wake of our reporting, requiring its management company to perform more in-depth background checks on potential tenants. Nuestra's executive director also says he has no evidence that former Senator Wilkerson intervened with her nephew's housing voucher. Do you know of a public benefit landing in the wrong hands? Give us a call. 1-800-TV-FOX-25. I'm Mike Bodette for Fox Undercover.
The Massachusetts Department of Probation also checked Mutati's Corey. A spokesperson says the manslaughter conviction appeared when they checked last week, but couldn't say what happened when Mutati applied for his voucher last year.
Fox Undercover also reached out to former Senator Wilkerson and her attorney, but no one returned their calls.